Hi everybody, I'm Don Dickson and I want to thank you for joining me again today. It's been, my wife and I were figuring it out this morning, it's been about 24 months since we last talked. And most of you already know what the reason was for all of that delay in our structure fishing education, and that was that they found some cancer in me. And I've been treating it for about 24 months now. And I have some good news. About 4 weeks ago, my doctor said that after all the blood tests, which I did regularly, of course, that they no longer could find any cancer cells in my blood, and it is a blood cancer. So my wife and I did a dance around the kitchen table, bust out a bottle of champagne. But then he informed me I have to stay on the medication a little while longer to make sure nothing changes and so on and so forth. But one of the things I wanted to thank each and every one of you for, and that is for all the prayers. I was amazed at the response when you all found out that I had a cancer. Amount of people that were praying for me. I had whole churches praying for me across the country. It's living proof that God is still in the healing business. And so I feel really refreshed and excited. I knew my work wasn't done as far as trying to educate the new generation of fishermen towards the true facts concerning a fish and how we can better equip ourselves to be catching them on a regular basis. So I had all these plans and so on and so forth, and cancer came and interrupted them. However, I will be starting a new series, study series. We're going to go straight through the winter. I'm going to be doing quite a few videos. And then hopefully in the spring we'll get back on the water as well and continue what we started a few years ago in doing these vlogs. I had my wife check this morning. I guess we've got 163 of these vlogs, videos already shot. So if you haven't seen all 163, I encourage you to get on your device and check out all those vlogs and be ready as we start a new series coming up very, very soon. Now, all that being said, I wanted to tell you a story today. It involves your boat and motor and the importance it has in your fishing success. So I struggled for quite some time because I knew that in my 163 vlogs I had touched on this subject many times. And because I've been seriously down and trying to get well with God's help and with your help, I just hadn't been in my library to check it all out. But I found out just recently that everything I wanted to say about the importance of having the proper fishing boat in the area of tools and controls, we talked about the fishing boat and motor that matches and so on and so forth, and how important it is in your success. And all of a sudden I ran into this vlog that I had done where I had already said everything that I could possibly say about the subject. So you'll understand in a little bit just why that was so important that I talk a little bit today about your boat and what part it plays in your fishing success. I wanted to tell you a quick story about a friend of mine named Buzz Hoover. Buzzy was one of the very first people that I met when I started my career back in 1973-ish. And he had come to one of my nightly clinics and introduced himself, and just a sweetheart of a guy. He's one of those people that everybody liked. The minute they met him, they liked him. And after they knew him for a week or two, they liked him even more. And he was just one of those fine fishing friends. However, I haven't seen him in quite a while. Personally, I hadn't seen him. Well, about 3 years ago it was, before I had my cancer, Buzzy called me. He said he wanted to come down and he wanted me to show him some of the spots that I had found down at Lake Kissimmee. And I said, well, all you got to do is call me up when you come, and I always will have time for you, Buzz, always. And for 3 years, I hadn't heard anything from him. So I called one day just to check on him, see how he was doing. They said, well, he's down in Florida at Lake Kissimmee fishing. Well, at this point in time, I had contracted my cancer. So I wanted to be down there with him, but I couldn't go. Doctors wouldn't allow me. So all of a sudden, I get a phone call from Buzz, and he said, man, I was going to call you and let you know we're down here, but I'll be here for 3 months. If you could come down and do some fishing. I said, man, there's nothing I'd love better than to be able to do that, but I can't because of this cancer. So we cried a little bit on the phone together and talked about our blues, and he said, well, I'm not the same as I used to be either. I'm having a little more trouble walking. And he said, eventually, I guess I'm going to have to give up fishing. I said, well, if you ever decide to give up fishing, you call me. We'll make that last final trip together and shoot a movie. Well, he called me, but I couldn't go. Now, unfortunately, and this is the funniest part of this whole story. He had this boat, the boat I'm sitting in, just like it. It's one we've been using since we first built it in 1975, whatever it was, 6. He had been in it, and he fished Erie a lot. Well, the last year of our production of this boat, my good friend Jimmy Cronin went in Butler, Pennsylvania, the guy who actually built the boat. He actually built a building to build the boat. There was a lot of requests, are we going to ever have a bigger boat? Well, I didn't want a bigger boat. I wanted this boat. This is the perfect fishing boat. But I thought, well, if we made a boat a little bit bigger, it might satisfy some people, but we had to keep the same exact design, but just a little bigger. So about, I don't know, a year later, we came out with a 17-footer. It was about 10 inches wider. And we tested it with a 60-horse engine on it, tiller handle. And it was pretty much the same boat, only a little bigger. Well, Buzzy at that time, Mr. Hoover, had decided that he was going to do an awful lot more fishing at Lake Erie. And he said, man, I'd like to have one of those bigger boats. So when he informed me that he'd like to have one of the bigger boats, it was about 1 week or 2 weeks after Jimmy had closed his doors and decided to retire and come to Florida. And Buzzy went into this begging me, you got to call Jimmy and have him make just one more. I said, he's already shut down. He's moving to Florida. But Jimmy and I have become such great friends over the years. I called him, I said, Jimmy, is there any way you can make one more boat? So he did. So the last boat that was sold out of our 10,000 or so that we sold over the years was Buzz Hoover's bigger boat. One that I didn't think was perfect for all around fishing. I think this one is. But he had the last boat. And when he was down here fishing, I said, you know, I might go back into the boat business. There's been a lot, since I started doing these vlogs, there's been a lot of interest in our boat. Because you can't find anything like this anywhere that does the job that this boat does. I said, I was thinking about going back into business. So if I had your boat, that could be one of the molds that I would use, and I would make the 2 different sizes. So if you decide you're going to retire from fishing, let me know first before you sell the boat to somebody else. He called me, I don't know, I guess it's been 5 weeks ago, something like that. And he said, are you still interested in my boat? And I said, Buzzy, I don't think there's any way that I'm going to be going back into business. I thought maybe if I did, it's something I could leave my 2 boys, you know, a boat business. But there's no way. It's too much involved, too much time, too much money. I'm just not going to do it. Well, later on that night, I shared that with my oldest son, Don, this is his boat, by the way. He said, well, I'll tell you what. If Buzzy's going to sell his boat, let me call him and talk to him. I might be interested. He said, you know, Brooks, my little grandson, is now 6'1" and 225 pounds. And the other grandson is about 6'3". And his wife loves to fish. So he said, I could stand that little bigger boat here in Florida, and it would give me a chance to maybe do some saltwater stuff, which I have an interest in. So I said, well, give Buzzy a call. Maybe you guys can come to some agreement. 3 days later, I found out my son was on his way to Ohio to pick up his new boat. So I have a picture here showing the first boat that we popped out years and years ago in the late 70s. And it's my son Donnie, and he was the first guy in this boat. And he was with me on the maiden ride of this first boat that we ever made. So he was in the first boat, and now he owns the very last boat that was ever produced. The very last Don Dickson trolling boat. He's got it. Now, something else I need to inform you about is my son told me that, Dad, oh, by the way, you know, in our plan of homes, he lives in a beautiful home, but they have a rule like so many of us have today. You can't have your boat in the driveway. He said, now, we got 2 cars. Actually, we have 3 cars in the fam. And now I have 2 boats, and one of them's in the driveway. So we're going to be selling Don Jr.'s boat. And this, by the way, is the same boat that I've been the last 3 years, 4 years before the cancer that I was using in my on the water videos. This is the boat. So in a sense, it's a Don Dickson family boat. Now when he told me he needed to sell it, I've been so removed, like the prices of boats and motors today, I can't even believe it. I'm hearing it, and I'm all of a sudden become aware of it. So he said, Dad, do me a favor, look up the price of a new 90 horse, or a new 40 horse tiller handle Mercury. Look it up. I looked it up, 8 grand. I think I saw one on sale for $7,600 or something. For a motor. A motor only. Now I asked, he said, so what do you think I ought to ask for the boat? I said, I don't know. Basically it's a one-off. You can't find one of these anywhere. If you do find one, it's not in very good shape. Hasn't been taken care of. But this one, it's basically like buying a one-off hot rod. There'll never be any more of them. You can't buy them. So I said, so it has that value. If you really wanted to know about it, it has got more value than it had when it was brand new. Today it has more value. He said, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to make sure it goes to a good home, to one of your subscribers, somebody that will treat the boat like you and I treat our boats. And I said, well, we'll put it on this video. And if you have an interest in this boat, it's got a beautiful brand new trolling motor on it. Now, we'll give you the details of everything about the boat, but if you have an interest in it, all you have to do is email me, like you always do, with a phone number and a good time to reach you, and I'll have my son get in touch with you and you all can talk, because I don't have a thing to do with the sale of this, but I do know one thing. You can buy it for less money than you would pay for a brand new 40 horse engine only. You can buy the boat, motor, trailer, trolling motor, the works, for less than the cost of a new 40 horse engine. Okay, before I close, a couple of things. All you newcomers, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be ready for all the education that's coming your way. And it's free. At any rate, and anything else you need, DonDicksonFishing.com. That takes you and gives you everything you need to know about me. But I want to introduce you to my son, the proud owner of this boat. He spent about 2 years on it. I know, we were sitting in the garage, and it's a gorgeous boat. We've been using it, like I say, for the last few years. And, it's become like the family boat. But at any rate, it's got to go. He's got a new one he's starting to work on. So I wanted to introduce you to Don Jr. Some of you have already know him and been in contact with him. But he's going to tell you a little something about what to do if you have an interest in maybe purchasing this boat. Okay?
Like Dad said, it's definitely like a part of the family, and I am genuinely sad to see it go. We put an awful lot of effort and time into it, but it's time to work on that project of the last troller that was ever produced. So If you have an interest in this one, please reach out to my dad at dondicksonfishing@gmail.com, and we'll work something out.
And we'll see you the next time.